300 to 500 million individuals around the world died behind a disease called smallpox in the 20th century, stated by Family Doctor. Due to this disease, the first vaccine was created behind dedicated scientists. Today, it is the only disease that was completely destroyed by a vaccine that stopped the spreading of such a nasty disease. I feel that every parent and individual wants their child and self to live a healthy life as long as they can. And one of the best ways that you can do this is by protecting yourself and your child by having all of the recommended vaccines. Vaccines are important and personal to me because my own son carries a genetic disorder that will become life-threatening if he is ill and goes a long period of time without eating. So something as simple as the flu shot has been a lifesaver for him with protecting his body from catching the stomach bug. If my son were to vomit for hours, ultimately he would end up at the children's hospital on fluids for days while his body recovered. Not taking my son to the hospital would end up with him in a coma, and we would eventually lose him. So vaccines are extremely important in keeping him well, along with his family members doing the same and protecting themselves from catching viruses in the community. So as a mom to a child with an illness, I am a believer in what medicine has done for this nation. Without it, my son would not be here today. So first, I will explain what a vaccine is and how it works to keep us safe from diseases that can be fatal. Second, I will discuss how safe a vaccine truly is to the human body. And third, I will discuss the importance of vaccines in every child and why it should be mandatory for students to have during their school years. So what exactly is a vaccine, besides that little needle that we all love to hate? A vaccine is a weakened form of the disease that is injected into your body. Our wonderful bodies instantly will detect these nasty germs called pathogens. Antibodies are then produced and known as the attack team, fighting the virus off and then removing it from your body. Those antibodies have a memory called B cells, and they are now fighting machines in your body for a lifetime for that specific germ. This example is why we have an immune system and why a child who has the chicken pox one time in their life can no longer have it again. The body has produced an immunity to the virus. So beside me is facts and percentages on how vaccines have been proven to save lives here in the United States. In just 1 year, vaccines prevent 33,000 deaths in the United States. And here is some percentages of cases where it's decreased since the pre-vaccine era, such as hepatitis B by 83%, measles 99%, mumps 99%. I mean, the numbers are outrageous in the improvements in what medicine has done for this country and wiping out diseases. So now, with a better understanding of what a vaccine does for our bodies and building up our immune system, let's look into the safety of a vaccine. Every vaccine goes through years of testing before they are licensed by the FDA and recommended by the Center for the Disease Control and Prevention. Vaccines are very safe. However, in some situations, they may cause some side effects, such as low fever, soreness, or a small bump in the skin where the shot was given. Just like in food allergies, such as peanuts in some individuals, vaccines can have an allergic reaction in some. That is why it is important for more individuals to have vaccines to help protect those that are unable. One of the biggest concerns from parents is that vaccines can cause autism in children. This very idea is actually a myth, and no scientific evidence whatsoever backs up this theory. The very idea began from a man called Andrew Wakefield, who later on was found guilty by the British General Medical Council of 36 charges, including dishonesty and abuse of children, and struck off the medical register, this being stated by Independent. Wakefield is no longer allowed to practice medicine and lost his license behind stating false information with no evidence to back up his theory. Sadly, after Wakefield's false ideas came about, diseases in Europe tripled in outbreak after parents stopped vaccinating their children. 20,000 cases came about with measles, and 35 of those cases lost their lives. This very example shows what can happen when a group of people stop vaccinating their children. So now let's look into why they are important for all children to have while attending school with other children. Vaccines are important in every child that is enrolled in school for the safety of themselves and others in the community. ProCon states that as of July 18, 2018, all 50 states and DC require vaccinations for diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, polio, measles, and rubella. However, in almost all states, parents are able to opt out of receiving immunizations due to religious, medical, and personal beliefs. Many families have started to follow Wakefield's ideas and that vaccines cause autism and started to use their opt-out rate. And as a result, in 2010, whooping cough was reported in 10,000 to 50,000 cases in the United States. And out of those numbers were 10 to 20 deaths in children below the age of 1, babies. These infants were too small to be vaccinated at the time and were exposed to individuals that were not vaccinated. More people that are vaccinated, the better the outcome. The Center for Disease Control stated the best way to reduce vaccine-preventable diseases is to have a highly immune population. Universal vaccination is a critical part of the quality health care. By vaccinating our children, we are keeping them in a safe environment and protecting them from spreading disease and receiving diseases that are still very active around the world, such as whooping cough. In closing, I discussed what a vaccination was, how safe a vaccine is, and lastly, the importance that every child should have all of their vaccines attending school and as a community in order to protect themselves and ones that are medically unable to have one. In the end, we are protecting our children and keeping them safe. I know many of us dislike the feeling of receiving an immunization. However, next time remember by supporting your child and self by getting that immunization, you are one more person that is helping our country become that much healthier and closer to eliminating diseases more and more completely from this world. I urge you to take this information you learned today and share it with someone that may not be vaccinating their children and self due to being a believer that vaccines cause autism. Be an advocate for your community and building a healthier group of people.